acidosis and alkalosis. Now, for acidosis and alkalosis, I think your labs did cover that if you took the lab, and it could go more down the rabbit hole, but I think this is more, well, I'll get to it, but you should know basic definitions on acidosis and alkalosis. So your normal arterial blood pH, again, it's not 7.4 to 7.5. It's actually very, very narrow. Remember, it's on the order of hundredths. So 7.45, or not 7.45, 7.4 plus or minus 0.05, not 0.5, 0.05. So what do you have? A range between 7.35 and 7.45. And this is pretty widely accepted. So again, remember that pH is inverse in terms of acid concentration. So as acid concentration goes up, pH goes down. So when your pH goes below 7.35, that means it's more acidic than normal. That's what you call acidosis. Now, opposite of that is not called basosis, it's called alkalosis. So alkaline and base used interchangeably, but again, if pH is higher, the less acid, the more basic it is. So alkalosis is a higher pH than 7.45. Now, metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. So again, metabolism referring to all the chemical reactions in your body. But what is metabolic acidosis and alkalosis? Well, let's define something else. Respiratory acidosis and alkalosis. This is abnormal pH due to changes in respiration. How can your respiration change pH? Well, let's bring back that exam 2 topic. Remember the bicarbonate buffer system? So what happens? Carbon dioxide plus water forms carbonic acid, and that generates bicarbonate ion and protons. And remember that this is actually a two-way equation. Remember that Le Chatelier's principle? So what happens is that it can go both ways, but also chemical equilibrium plays a factor. So if one side gets increase, so if you have increased carbon dioxide in your body, maybe due to underbreathing or holding your breath, all that's going to combine with water, with carbonic anhydrase, going to form carbonic acid. So the more carbon dioxide that's dissolved in your blood, the increased carbon dioxide partial pressure, that causes the increased synthesis and release of protons, therefore making it more acidic. Now the opposite is also true. What happens if you're hyperventilating and overbreathing? What happens is that you're dumping major amounts of carbon dioxide if you breathe very fast or very deeply, or some combination of the two. So remember, those reactions can go in the opposite direction. Again, that's a Le Chatelier's principle. So if you're dumping all this carbon dioxide, this reaction is going to now shift toward this side. Why? Again, the chemical balance is trying to shift its way to balance and compensate for the lack of carbon dioxide. So it wants to generate more carbon dioxide. How does it do that? Well, first it's going to make carbonic acid by combining bicarbonate and protons. But the thing is that these protons are consumed in the process while it's trying to increase this carbon dioxide. So when proton concentrations decrease, pH goes up, it gets less acidic. Now it gets more basic, it's more alkaline. So metabolic acidosis and alkalosis, anything not due to respiration. So respiratory acidosis alkalosis is very specific to changing your breathing and changing your carbon dioxide concentrations due to changes in your breathing. But pretty much anything else, whether it's due to drugs, vomiting, diarrhea, or anything else, that is metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. So it's just by process of elimination. If it's not respiratory cause, it's metabolic. Now, renal compensation, again, compensation can get more tricky, and if you're going to nursing and med school, yeah, you definitely have to know about compensatory mechanisms in acid-base balance. But renal compensation, so what determines acidity and pH? Again, protons, right? And what neutralizes the protons and acid? Bicarbonate. So acidosis and alkalosis. So this is why your book has a very broad range for urine. It doesn't say that there's a typical normal range. Why? Because depending if you have more acid or base in your urine, and remember that proximal, distal, convoluted tubule, and the nephron, and especially in the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct, you can dump excess waste products. So in acidosis, well, again, you have too much acid. So how are your kidneys going to correct that? Maybe you want to dump the acid. So if someone has acidosis, their urine is going to be very acidic because their body is trying to dump that extra protons into their urine so it's no longer in their body. And what else? It's not only going to excrete protons, it's also going to reabsorb bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is also very small and does filter through the glomerulus, so it makes sense like, hey, let's maybe reabsorb the bicarbonate to lower our acidity and increase our pH, and let's dump more protons to get rid of our acidity as well. Now, alkalosis, just the opposite, right? Again, opposite of acid is alkaline. So you're going to reabsorb those protons. Again, your pH is now too high. You want to bring your acidity you want to increase your acidity and bring your pH back to normal and lower. And you're also going to excrete bicarbonate ions in your urine. So again, your kidneys very important in not only making urine, but also balancing the chemistry of your blood and interstitial fluids and your cellular